Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and today I just want to show you through this video how to build fence. We've got a situation where we want to actually erect a piece of fence from the existing over to the house. So to do that, one of the main things that I started out by doing was determining obviously where I wanted the fence and running a string line across the ground, and then marking out where my post locations were going to be. Now you can see here, this would be one of my post locations. It might be a little difficult to see with the shade here, but I've circled the area, I've put an X, and I've actually got a nail in the ground. So that's center of post. So that's my first post coming off the existing fence. There's also another post going to be right here on the right hand side of the sidewalk. And then I've already installed the post beside the house. So for our fence, we're basically going to be using 4x4 pressure treated posts. In this case, our fence is approximately 5 feet tall, and we're putting the posts about 3 feet into the ground and concreting them in. So you can see, like I said, I've got the one post already done. The next basic thing that I want to do at this point is I want to drill these holes, and I'm going to do that by hand, and we'll show that. Before you do any kind of fencing or anything where you're digging in the ground, you need to contact any utility companies, have them come out and mark the area, make sure there's no gas lines, phone, water, sewer, power, any of that kind of stuff in the area where you're going to be drilling. You want to definitely stay away from that. So make sure you have that all marked out before you start. In this case, we had them come out. There's nothing in this area other than an accessory water line that goes to a front tap that I found underground when I did that post. So, but as far as phone lines and power and gas and any of that kind of thing, there's nothing in this area. So we're good to go. So we'll probably reposition the camera and start out by drilling this first hole. So the three different tools that might be needed to do this job here today is a post hole scoop, just a normal shovel, and then a hand-held post hole digger. The reason we're using these and not something power is just that these are more likely to be handy for the DIYer to get a hold of. You can rent portable augers or have a piece of equipment come in with an auger to drill these holes as well if you have the accessibility to do it. But we're going to do it the old-fashioned way here today, and that way you can kind of see how it's done. So I'm going to start out, because I've got lots of room here to work, I'm going to start out with this post hole auger, I guess you'd call it. The one issue we're probably going to have is we're going to find that we're going to have some roots from this large tree that's right close by. So we'll just deal with those as we come to them if they develop. Usually if you start hitting that sort of thing, I can stick a recip saw down in the hole and remove the root out of that area and keep going. So hopefully we don't have too many troubles with that. So what I want to do is I already pulled the nail out of my center mark there. I want to place the auger right on that point and just give it a few twists. It takes a little bit to get it started, but just concentrate on trying to keep it in your center mark area there where you'd started. So now that it's basically started to root itself down into the ground, I'm also applying a pretty good amount of pressure down as I'm twisting, and you can see it just kind of works its way into the ground, bringing some soil up. When the shovel part of it gets full, you can just lift it up and toss that soil to the side. Now you might need some of that soil afterwards, so don't send it too far away. So I'll just continue on like this, and we'll see if we come across any roots. So far I'm only hitting quite small ones, so it's not being an issue. And remember, I'm shooting to go down about 3 feet, so it does take a bit of time. In this case, we only have 2 to do here. We'll probably speed up a lot of this. Yeah, I think that's all I really need to say. I'm just going to get to work. One thing that's worth mentioning is as you're using any of these tools, we want to be trying to drill or dig the most vertical hole we can so that we can set our post in easily. So that's one thing to concentrate on, is keeping the shaft of the tool you're using vertical in both directions or all directions so that you have a nice straight hole. Okay, so we've got this first hole complete. I don't know, that maybe in actual time took a couple minutes, really wasn't too bad, other than being out of breath. Right now I'm at about 37.5 inches approximately deep, so I'm happy with that. All we luckily ran into was a few small roots like that just tore apart as we twisted through it. We didn't run into any water. That can be an issue sometimes. You may, hit groundwater level or whatever. So if that's a problem, you need to try to get some of that water out. If it's just a little bit of moisture and you're cementing in your posts anyways, not really a big issue. If the hole fills up with water, well, yes, you're going to have to try to pump that out, or at least pump it down, get your post in there and get everything set before it fills up too much again. We're drilling, this tool here is adjustable in the size of the hole. Basically we end up with close to an 8-inch hole, basically an 8-inch round hole. We're putting a 4x4 post into that. So like I said, you want to be as vertical and plumb as you can with your hole, otherwise you're going to have issues with getting your post in there. As far as putting your posts in and getting them in place, there's a couple different things you could do. We're going to concrete ours into place with just some bags of concrete mix for posts. Another thing you could do is set your post in and tamp in pea gravel or rock or something around. So you put in a layer, tamp it with a post or a little stick, put in some more, tamp it, and actually you can get really solid posts that way. We're going to use concrete in this case, just because that's what I kind of prefer to do. And with a pressure treated post, it's going to last for years and years. It'll probably outlast the rest of the fence, the post itself. So, okay, so we've got our first one drilled here. I'm going to go over, get that one drilled, and then when we come back, I'll show actually getting the posts in the holes and mixing the cement and pouring it. Okay, so on this hole, I just want to show you a couple shots of me using this particular tool. It's kind of a clam type shovel. So what you're going to do is you'd want to, I'll just go over here in the bare dirt. You want to just stab it down in the area you want. Then you squeeze the handles apart and it actually picks up mouthfuls of dirt. So if you were, restricted to the amount of room you had and you couldn't maybe turn the handle on the other digger that you just watched me use, you could use this. Or maybe you got a lot of loose dirt down in the bottom of the hole. I could stick this down that existing hole and get that dirt out of the bottom. But you can do a hole this way too. Just a little trickier to get started. So you just want to stab it in at your location, squeeze. This isn't a bad idea to use this just to get the hole started before you use the other one, because it kind of gets you a nice clean spot that your drill should just go directly into. So anyways, that's using that. I don't think I really need to use that in this case, but it did get me a nice spot to start this hole. Okay, so we've got both our holes drilled. In that other hole we did run into some, or at least one pretty good sized root, so I just took the recip saw with the long blade and cut that root off, so not a big deal, it's just a matter of getting around it. Next step is I've just thrown the post loosely in the holes and I put up this string line down here. So this string line I moved because before, sorry, I'm just sitting on my knife here. Before I was using the string line as a center mark across here to get the hole position. So now what I did is I moved that string line out to the front edge of the post, and I'm using it to get the post all straight in a line. The reason, obviously I can't use the center line mark because the post would be in the way every time. So now I can get the post positioned over to the line and centered up in the hole. If you're needing to space your posts a really specific distance apart, then I suggest you maybe cut some temporary braces, or have your some people will buy the sections of fence that are already made up from the box stores. Then you want to kind of use them to gauge the distance this way, side to side, for your distance of your posts. But in our case, there's no real rocket science to where we're going. We're approximately 7 feet apart. I wouldn't go any more than 8 feet. 6 to 7 feet is a nice distance. Most of your fencing pre-made products are set up for 8-foot sections. But so anyways, we're about 7 feet between the posts, so that isn't too critical in our case. So we've got our string line. I've attached it over there on the existing fence, and then over on our first fence pole that I put in, which was kind of why I put that post in yesterday, was so that we could use it without having to put a stake in the ground and all that kind of stuff. So we've got it all there to give us our straight line. Okay, so I just also want to talk about this little level here that I have, and you can buy these at any hardware store just about. And it's made for going onto fence posts. So it's got a level vial that on that side and this side, so you can hold your post and check without moving. Like if you have a handheld level, you'd have to, check this side, then check this side, and in the meantime the post has moved on you. Where with this, I use a strap to hold it on, and I can look at this vial, get it nice there, take a peek over at the other one, adjust where I need to do, all without having to move a hand level. So, and at the same time when you're doing all that, you're also trying to watch that string to make sure you get the pole over to where it needs to be on the string line. So anyways, that's what the level's all about. So what you want to do is get your post close, get your concrete mixed up in the wheelbarrow or a bucket or whatever you're going to mix it in, so it's ready to go. And then fine tune your post and start putting the concrete in around the hole. Some people will just open up the dry powdered concrete post mix, dump it in the hole and fill the hole with water and maybe prod it with a rod or something. I guess that works, but it's you don't know if you're mixing the whole batch of concrete or not. You could just be mixing the top 2 or 3 inches and the rest is staying dry. So it's nice to mix it out of the hole and then place it into the hole. So I'm just going to do that in a wheelbarrow. So I'll just move my barrel out here. I've just got to get my water a little closer. Okay, so I got my water a little handier now. Got a shovel just to do the mixing. I'm just going to wet my wheelbarrow down a little bit, just so the concrete doesn't stick badly to it. I'll put on my safety glasses. Concrete dust can be a little corrosive, so you don't want to get it in your eyes. I'm just going to rip the bag open. Of course, all that's blowing right at the cameraman. Okay, so we've got our concrete mix, our post mix in the wheelbarrow. I'm just going to create a little bit of a volcano in there, and turn the water pressure down so I don't splash it. And I'm going to add about 1.5 liters or so of water. Uh-oh, got some air in the line. There we go. And I created that volcano just to kind of hold the water in there. And then I just want to use the shovel and turn the mix getting the water all mixed in nicely with the powder, with the concrete mix that we have. So you can see how it's starting to mix in there. I'll create another volcano. I'm going to add about another liter or so. You can have this pretty runny. Need a lot more water than that yet. It's a little runny for this application. It actually works nice for getting it in the hole. Apparently you can't hear me when I'm scraping. You want to have this mix pretty runny, so it just makes it easier in this case when you're putting it in the hole. So just keep turning it until you're not getting any of that power coming up. Pretty good. I'll just add a little bit more. So I maybe added, I don't know, approximately 3 liters of water or so. Now this particular post mix is a fairly quick setup, so I don't want to waste too much time. So that looks pretty good to me. We'll give it a try anyways. So I can go back to my post here. Just double check that I'm good on my line and I'm good plumb both ways, and I'll drop a little bit of mix down there. Try to get a little bit on each side of the post. Just if you get a little bit to start with on each side of the post, it kind of keeps that bottom from moving on you. So we're actually pretty nice here. And it's gonna, I'm sure, take more than a bag, probably a bag and a half. So just make sure you aren't pushing your line. Make sure your levels are good. A little bit offset in the hole as it worked out, so it's a little tighter right on this side, but it's alright, we can deal with that. Try not to get too much dirt going in the hole. Scrape that concrete off the line, make sure I'm not pushing the line. Okay, our bubbles are looking pretty good. So I'll add the rest of what was in this bag, or in this wheelbarrow, I mean. Okay, so I've got pretty much that whole bag in there. Now I just want to, because it's hard to see down in there, you don't really know what you're doing when you've dropped that concrete in, and I'm just going to use this piece of rebar just to reach down in there and tamp it down a little bit in case we've got some air trapped or anything. Try to get all the sides. Like that. Double checking my bubbles again. My string line, I'm a little bit tight on it. Right about there. My bubbles are good. So I'm going to mix up another bag because I've got the other post ready as well. I'll top this pole off, and whatever's left I can start that other post with. So okay, so we've placed the concrete in around there and tamped it down. Now I'm just going to use the end of this piece of wood just to kind of smooth things out. I'm also creating a bit of a slope away from the pole with the concrete so water isn't sitting against the pole. Trying to get this below grade as well so we can just put a little bit of topsoil on top of that. So you can see I'm just getting a bit of slope there so water doesn't sit right against the pole. Okay, and I've left it down enough that when we're done we can just throw a bit of dirt over that and it'll kind of finish it off. Just scrape some of this excess off the pole. Okay, I'll get the other one done up and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so we got our posts all set. We've let them sit here for about 30 minutes. We've got a quick setting concrete, so everything's pretty solid already. While we were waiting, we did some marking out for all the rail pieces and the heights of our posts and that sort of thing. So what we were able to do is off of that fence use reference points, and we just ran a string line off those reference points across to our far post over here, and we used a string line level on the string, which is just a little vial with a bubble in it. And I got the line level, then marked the positions on our posts. So we've got a line here for the top of our post for height, and we've got a line way down here which is the top of our bottom rail, and you can see we've actually installed one of them already. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is actually cut this post off. We've cut the other ones already, and we marked a line right around the post to give us a reference to cut to, because the saw isn't going to cut right through in one cut. I'm going to have to cut one side and then go around to the other side and cut. And also what I like to do is just slightly put a little bit of a like an angle on the top of the post so that water doesn't just sit on the post and soak in. It will actually want to run off. So our line is actually level. So what I'll do is I'm going to have the posts all slope to the back here. I'm actually going to start out on this side of the line and finish out on the top side of the line over there, just to give about 1/8 of an inch drop from front to back. So I'm just going to do this with the cordless skill saw. This post is a little wet. Okay, so there's one cut, and I'll just do the same thing on the other side, and hopefully we end up pretty flat on the top. Oh, can't get any better than that. So like I said, what I was hoping is that our two saw marks would line up pretty good, and there's barely even a ridge there, so that's beautiful. That's lucky is what that is, quite honestly. Okay, so we've got the height of this post, or actually all the posts cut off. So we can, I'll go down here and I'll put in my bottom rail for this piece, and then we'll come back and do the top rails and go from there. So I'm just lining it up to the lines that we've put on there. It's a nice tight fit. And as well with these boards, because they're sitting horizontally, I want to just slightly tip them so water will run off, and it'll just reduce the chance of rot. Okay, so I've got nice snug fit in there. Okay, so we fit it in there snug. We're just double checking. Cameraman figured it didn't look quite level, but and I double checked it, it is. It's just, I think the slope of the ground is making it look a little off. So I'm going to toenail screw in, one screw on each side. And I'm using these ceramic coated nails, or screws, sorry. The wood and like these 2x4s and the pickets aren't pressure treated that we're using, but the posts are, and it's a little bit corrosive to a standard deck screw, so we're using these other screws to be sure that they don't corrode and break off over time. Okay, so there's our bottom runner. Now the top ones are just going to sit right on here like this. I'm just going to get myself set up over here. And we have a nail here still where we had the string line set up, so I just had to pull that out. So this will sit halfway on the pole over there and line up with where we had our nail for the string line on this side. And that actually will be the bottom, I guess. Just like so. Just wanted to get it started there. I'll just double check that with the level, just to be sure. String line isn't 100% accurate, so yeah, I'm actually probably a little high over there, but I'll get a screw in this end and then I'll adjust that end. So I'm just splitting the difference on the top of this post, coming out flush here. And it looks like I've got to come down here a little bit. Right about there should be good. A couple more screws. Okay, and then we've got a top rail for the next space. So it's here and here. So these two will butt together. Like so. And I'm actually just a hair short on this top one. Make sure my pole's plumb. Actually, my pole can go over just a hair, so I'll suck it over. Okay, so we're pretty good there. Now, something that I like to do is I'm going to add another, underneath it here, I'm going to add another rail in, standing up like this, made out of 2x4. What that does, it'll fit between the posts, it'll get screwed down, screwed on through the top rail into it, and because it's going to hang down the 3.5 inch way this direction, it gives some strength to this, so you don't get the sections of fence sagging over time. So it'll just beef it up a little bit. So I didn't get those pre-cut, so I'll have to pre-cut those and then we'll come back and install it. Okay, so we're back. We went ahead off the film there and put the rails on, finished all the rails up. So you can see we've got our horizontal flat rail on the top and one down there, and then we've got a vertical one here, like I said, just to give this some strength so this doesn't want to sag over time. You could put one of these down at the bottom as well if you wanted to, just for a little extra support, or you could even have this one turned the other direction, but I find this setup generally works pretty decent. Then as well, what we did is we set up a string line, which is right here. Don't know if you can see it, right here from end to end, and that's indicating the top height of our actual pickets. We've got our pickets just roughly cut to height, so because what I did is cut the little corners off the top. I'll show you that after. So now with this string line in place, we can determine what we want to cut our pickets to for actual height. Because we've got a little bit of a ground difference here, I'm going to have to cut the first couple here a little bit longer, and then I can go a fair ways with all the same length of pickets there. Basically what you don't want is you don't want the ends of the pickets to be in the ground, because they're just going to rot off. So it's nice to be up, you know, 1/2 inch to 1 inch even off the ground, and that way they have a chance to dry out and they don't rot nearly as fast. Something else I should mention, if you probably noticed, all the pieces that are first coated in white paint are just spruce lumber, as well as that's what the pickets will be in this case. And the reason I first coated everything is so that when I put the pickets up here, I've got a paint on paint contact. There won't be any bare wood in behind the pickets. So I like to first coat everything, just laid out on some sawhorses, put it all together, and then everything's got that coat of paint. I didn't bother with the posts at this point because they're already pressure treated, so they've got that protection on there. They will get painted or stained or whatever you're going to do to match after the fact, because everything will need to be done one more time once it's put together. So I thought that was worth touching base on. So right now I've just I'm going to determine the height of my pickets here. We've got the string line there to tell us height. Right now, right here at this post, I'm basically 57 inches off the ground. But then you come over here, I'm 56 already, and 55 there. So it changes pretty drastically right here. So these first 3 or so, I'm going to just stagger them a little bit, difference in height, and then like I said, I can cut quite a number here through the middle, all the same length. So I'm going to go to the saw, cut them off. Once I cut the bottoms, I'm going to paint that bottom because we don't want that raw wood down there either. So paint it or stain it before you put it up. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a little bit of this going, and then we'll come back and I'll show you exactly how I got to that point. Okay, so we've got a bunch of pickets cut. We've started installing some of them there already. So we're just bringing them up to our string line here to get the height looking pretty even. We've cut the bottoms off and painted them. Our tops, like I was mentioning earlier, I just cut the corners off as a little bit of design. It's kind of limitless as far as any style you want to do on the fence. This is a pretty basic white picket fence that we're doing. I'm using just a piece of the pickets, so 3/4 of an inch spacers, and I've just got them cut so they just sit nicely right on the rails and stay there, so it's kind of a one-man thing. Right now I'm just tacking the pickets all in place with my brad nailer, just as a temporary. It just speeds things up. Then I'll go back and I like to have I screw my pickets on, and I like to have the screws looking nice and straight, so I can go back and take a little more time with that. This just leaves a small little nail hole that nobody's going to notice after a while, so just simply butt it up against the spacers I have there. And I'm just putting one brad nail top and bottom each. It's just to temporarily hold it there. Move my spacers over, grab my next picket, and do it all again. So I'm just putting it against the spacers, sliding it up or down until it's good with the string line. It works quite good. It's fairly efficient this way. One person can do most of this work on their own, you know, a few evenings after work or whatever. You go out and you get your fence all done on your own. And then the kids can paint it. Okay, so I got those tacked in. Now we've come to a point where I've got the pressure treated post here, and I want to just paint that face of that post because it's going to show through on the space where the next picket is. So I'll just quickly give this a little shot so it whites out. It's just easier to do it now than once there's another picket in the way. Okay, just like that. Move my pickets over so I can reach them. After every few, 10 boards or so, just I won't put it on this one because it's wet, but just throw your level on just to double check that you're staying plumb. Sometimes you can get thrown off and you haven't noticed it. Now my post is kind of in the way, so I've just got to stand that spacer in here. Now we're away from the post, so my spacer should work just fine again. Just double check your line every now and again, make sure it isn't caught up somewhere along the way and throwing you off. Sometimes it gets caught on a sliver or something and you didn't notice, and then before you realize you've got a bunch of pickets up and oops, I must have missed. Back in there. Yeah, before you know it, you've got a bunch of pickets up and they're all wrong. So at least with the brad nailer here, it'll be easy to knock them off if you do make a mistake. Some of the boards I was able to get double coated, so I'm putting those sides facing back against the wood that makes up the rails and that. So pretty basic. I'm just going to go along and finish these last few up that I have painted and ready to go. Okay, so you get the idea. I've just got to cut a few more to finish this section off, and then we can go back, get our screws in, and we've just about got the main part of the fence done. Okay, so we've put a bunch more of the pickets on. I've actually even done some of the screws. We're left with the last picket here. The space left over, I just ripped the picket down to make it work the right way. Got another ear on the side so that it looks the same as all the rest. So I'll just slide it into position here. And I took my string line down, so just eyeball this one up. Something like that. Okay, so for my for all the screws, which I already did all the other pickets, I'm a little picky this way. I like it to look straight, so I just make up what I call a simple jig out of some scraps that were laying around here. So basically all this does, it's made so it can hang on each picket, and I've got pencil marks here and here for the top row of screws and pencil marks here and here for the bottom row. So I just center it up on the picket, give myself a little mark where they're going to be. This picket's a little different because it's narrower, but it simply works on every one. You can hang it on there, mark each one, and all your screws are nice and straight and look uniform. So I'm just going to throw some screws into this, and then we can do a wrap up. Okay, so like I said, we've got the fence all done. Maybe I'll just, if the camera wants to go over against the house, I'll just show what I did there to finish things up. So same idea, I just figured out this is going to be a gate, and you'll see that in our other video. I just figured out how the gate was going to work out, and then I started my pickets over here where I need it to be, cut the one against the house, and fasten the ball on. On the back side, if the camera can make it through the gate here, oops, yep. Without falling. On the back side, you can see I did the same thing as what we had over there. We've got a flat rail, we've got a vertical rail down below, and I actually did exactly the same thing on the very bottom. You probably won't be able to see that. To fasten those in, I used some PL adhesive, some construction adhesive on top of the posts, and I used long screws. They're 4.5 inches, or sorry, 5 inches long through the post, right into the ends, just to solid that up. You can see the post is moving, but you know that block isn't wobbly or anything. Plus, once you put your pickets on, it solids it up. So, okay, so that's. I guess we can come right around back out front. Get back in the shade where it's a little cooler. So that's our basic white picket fence video. Like I said earlier in the video, there's all kinds of different styles and designs you can do with lattice work or rails that are exposed, all that kind of stuff. So pick your design. Basic principles are pretty much the same as far as getting your posts in and everything. We went 3 feet deep. I like to do that. It makes your post just a little bit more solid. You go a couple feet, and after a couple years, it gets a little wobbly. So that's good. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about is just before you start your project, we already talked about looking at your underground utilities and that sort of thing, making sure you aren't going to hit anything like that. But also check with your municipality, your city, to make sure that you know there's no bylaws that you're going to break as far as the height of the fence or how close you are to a street or an alley or that sort of thing. So just check that. You know, I know in our area, if you've got a pool or a hot tub, you're supposed to have, I believe it's a minimum 6-foot high fence with locking gates. So just little things like that. You hate to go through to all this work and find out you don't meet regulations for your area. So I appreciate you watching the video. We are going to have a gate building video for this exact fence, so check that out if you're interested. And also you can go to our forum on the website at house-improvements.com and check out our forum, any other articles we have. And you're already on our YouTube channel, I think, so check out our other videos. Thanks for watching.